Lie you tell yourself every morning. Every morning there is a negotiation. It happens before your eyes are fully open, before the first thought you're consciously aware of. Somewhere in the gap between the alarm and the snooze button, a voice steps forward, smooth, reasonable, completely convincing, and it says, "You deserve rest. You worked hard yesterday. Today can wait. Tomorrow is better." And you listen, not because you're weak, not because you're lazy, but because that voice sounds so much like wisdom that you cannot immediately tell the difference between it and the truth. Here is the truth that voice will never tell you. Tomorrow never comes for the undisciplined. It simply becomes today with one more day of momentum lost. That voice has a name. It is not your instinct. It is not your body asking for rest. It is not self-care. It is resistance, the oldest, most sophisticated enemy a human being will ever face. And it lives entirely inside your own skull. It knows your weaknesses better than you do because it is built from them. It knows exactly what to say to make quitting feel like wisdom, delay feel like strategy, and mediocrity feel like enough. And it has been winning, quietly, invisibly, every single morning you've handed it the first hour of your day. But this is the morning that ends the negotiation. This is the morning you stop bargaining with your own potential and start building it instead. Chapter 2. What discipline actually is and isn't. Most people who struggle with discipline are fighting the wrong enemy because they have completely misunderstood what discipline actually is. They think discipline is punishment, a grim, joyless grinding through things you hate, powered by guilt and self-loathing, fueled by the image of some impossibly perfect version of yourself that you'll never actually become. They think it's the ultra-fit person who never eats carbs, the monk who sleeps 4 hours, the CEO who answers emails at 4 a.m. and calls it a lifestyle. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is the highest form of self-respect. When you keep a promise to yourself, even a small one, you send a message to every cell in your body. I am someone who does what they say. I am someone who shows up. I am someone whose word, even to themselves, means something. That message, repeated daily, becomes identity. And identity, once established, becomes the most powerful force in human behavior, because we will always, eventually, act in accordance with who we believe ourselves to be. Discipline is not about hating your present self into becoming your future self. It is about loving your future self enough to inconvenience your present one. And the inconvenience is smaller than you think. We are not talking about overhauling your entire life before breakfast. We are talking about the single next right action, the one small thing that, chosen correctly in this moment, starts the chain that changes everything. Discipline is not a personality trait. It is a daily decision made in small moments until it becomes who you are. Chapter 3. The identity trap. I'm just not a disciplined person. Stop right there. We need to dismantle the most dangerous sentence in your vocabulary before it costs you another year. I'm just not a disciplined person. You say it like it's a diagnosis, like it was handed to you by a doctor, printed on official letterhead, signed and notarized. Like discipline is a gene you either have or you don't, and you've been tested and you don't. Discipline is not something you are. It is something you practice. And practice, by definition, starts imperfectly. Every person you have ever admired for their discipline was at one point as undisciplined as you feel right now. The difference is not that they were built differently. The difference is that they stopped using their current behavior as proof of their permanent identity and started using their chosen identity as instructions for their next behavior. This is called identity-based change. Instead of saying, I want to work out, which frames exercise as a task to complete, you say, I am someone who moves their body every day. Instead of I should stop wasting time, you say, I am someone who protects their hours like money. The behavior follows the belief, always. If you keep telling yourself the story of a person who can't stay disciplined, your behavior will keep providing evidence for that story. The moment you change the story, not the behavior first, the story, the behavior begins slowly to follow. You are not someone who lacks discipline. You are someone who has not yet made it non-negotiable. That changes today. Chapter 4. The 5 minutes that change everything. Here is a truth so simple it almost sounds like a trick. The hardest part of every disciplined action is the first 5 minutes, not the workout, the getting off the couch and putting on your shoes, not the deep work session, the opening the laptop and sitting down with the phone in another room, not the healthy meal, the not opening the delivery app in the first place. The friction is almost entirely in the initiation. Once you are in motion, genuinely in motion, not just thinking about being in motion, a completely different force takes over. Momentum. And momentum is the disciplined person's greatest unfair advantage because it costs nothing to maintain and everything to start from scratch. Every time you avoid the start, you make the next start harder. Every time you begin, you make the next beginning easier. This compounds. Over days, weeks, months, the person who starts imperfectly every single day builds a completely different nervous system than the person who waits for the perfect conditions to begin. The first person has trained their brain that starting is normal. The second person has trained their brain that starting is a major event that requires perfect conditions, and perfect conditions never come. So here is your only assignment for right now. Commit to the first 5 minutes. Not the whole thing, not the perfect version, not the version that impresses everyone. Just the first 5 minutes of the thing you've been avoiding. The rest will follow. It almost always does. Chapter 5. Motivation is a liar. Discipline is the truth. The most destructive thing the self-help industry ever sold you was the idea that you need to feel motivated before you act. You don't. You never did. And chasing motivation before action is exactly backwards. It's like waiting to feel warm before you light the fire. The warmth is the result of the fire, not the prerequisite for it. Motivation is an emotion. Emotions are whether unpredictable, temporary, outside your control. Discipline is a decision made once, honored daily, regardless of the forecast. Think about the things in your life you do without needing motivation. You brush your teeth in the morning. You don't wait until you're inspired to do it. You don't journal about your relationship with dental hygiene. You just do it because at some point it moved from task to identity to automatic, and it costs you almost nothing now. Every habit, every discipline, every behavior you admire in high performers went through that same 3-stage evolution. Task, then identity, then automatic. The only difference between you and the person who works out every morning without thinking about it is that they survived the first stage long enough to reach the third. You have quit at stage 1. Every time. Not because you're broken, but because nobody told you that stage 1 is supposed to be hard, is supposed to feel like friction, is supposed to require effort. Hard is not a sign to stop. Hard is a sign that you're still in stage 1. Push through it. Stage 3 is on the other side. Stop waiting to feel like it. Start before you feel like it. Feel like it afterward because you will. Chapter 6. The real cost of undiscipline. Let's have the conversation that nobody wants to have because it is the only one that will actually change anything. Undiscipline is not free. It feels free, that's the whole seduction of it. Sleeping in feels free. Skipping the gym feels free. Scrolling for 2 hours feels free. Saying yes to everything comfortable and no to everything that requires sustained effort feels in the moment like the path of least resistance. But undiscipline is the most expensive lifestyle available. It just sends the bill later, when the interest has compounded into something you can no longer easily pay. The bill arrives as the career that never quite launched because you couldn't sustain the effort long enough to build real skill. The body that is harder to rebuild at 40 than it would have been to maintain at 25. The relationship eroded by the 1,000 small promises you made to yourself and broke, because the habit of breaking promises to yourself eventually bleeds into how you keep them with others. The bill arrives as the version of yourself you meet in 10 years who looks back at today and says, I knew what I needed to do. I just kept choosing the comfortable thing instead, and this life that's smaller than I wanted is the compound interest on those choices. I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to reframe the cost. Because right now, Every time you choose comfort over discipline, you think you're saving energy. You're not. You're borrowing it from your future self at a rate they can't afford. The pain of discipline weighs ounces. The pain of regret weighs tons. Choose your discomfort. Chapter 7. Your body is the battlefield. Here is something that gets buried under every productivity framework, every motivational quote, every 5-step system for discipline. Your body is not a vehicle for your mind. It is not a machine that runs your brain from place to place. It is the foundation of every decision you will ever make. Sleep deprived, you will make undisciplined choices with near-perfect consistency. Not because you're weak, because the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for every single act of self-regulation you care about, runs on sleep the way an engine runs on oil. Deprive it and the engine seizes. Before you build habits, build the physical infrastructure that makes habits sustainable. This means sleep is not laziness. It is the foundation. Movement is not vanity. It is the single most well-documented intervention for improving self-regulation, reducing impulsivity, and building the cognitive horsepower that discipline requires. Food is not pleasure or punishment. It is information you send to your brain about what kind of day it's going to be. Every disciplined person you admire has, consciously or not, built a physical foundation that makes their discipline sustainable. They're not running discipline on pure willpower. They're running it on a well-maintained system. Willpower is a renewable resource, but only if you're actually renewing it. Your first act of discipline, therefore, is not the heroic one. It's the boring one. Sleep enough. Move your body. Eat something real. Build the physical platform on which every other discipline can stand without collapsing under its own weight. Chapter 8. Your environment is your enemy or your ally. Willpower is finite, environment is infinite, and the most underrated insight in all of behavioral science is this: the disciplined person does not rely on willpower to resist temptation. They design their environment so that temptation requires effort to access. Discipline is easier when the environment does most of the work for you. This is not a trick, it is architecture. If the phone is on the desk, you will pick it up. If it is in another room, you will think twice. If the healthy food is at eye level in the fridge and the junk food requires climbing, you will make a different choice at 11 p.m. when your willpower is depleted. If the gym bag is packed and by the door the night before, you will encounter 3 fewer decisions between waking up and working out, and each eliminated decision is a preserved unit of discipline. Look at your environment right now. Not your ideal environment, your actual current environment. Is it set up to make disciplined choices easy and undisciplined ones hard? Or is it the reverse? Be honest. Your environment is either your co-conspirator in becoming who you want to be, or it is the silent saboteur of every good intention you've ever had. You cannot outrun a bad environment on willpower alone. Nobody can. The strongest-willed people alive still lose to bad design, eventually. Stop trying to white-knuckle your way through an environment built for distraction, and start rebuilding the environment to work for you. Design your environment first, then let the environment design your behavior. Chapter 9. Systems over willpower always. Willpower is a muscle. Like any muscle, it fatigues. By 3 p.m., your willpower is a fraction of what it was at 8 a.m., which is why decisions made late in the day are almost always worse than decisions made early, and why the most disciplined people on earth make as few decisions as possible. They don't decide whether to work out. It's Tuesday. Tuesday is a workout day. Decide it. They don't decide what to eat for breakfast. They eat the same breakfast. Decide it. They don't decide whether to check email in the morning. Email opens at 10. Decide it. Discipline is not making good decisions all day. Discipline is making a few great decisions once and then following them automatically. This is why systems beat goals every single time. A goal is something you hope to arrive at. A system is something you run every day. The goal is the direction. The system is the engine. And you don't cross an ocean on direction alone. Build 3 systems this week, not 10. not an overhaul. 3. A morning system that requires 0 decisions to execute. A work system that tells you exactly what you're doing and when. An evening system that prepares tomorrow's version of you to succeed before they wake up. Run those 3 systems for 30 days without questioning them. Not 30 perfect days, 30 consecutive attempts, flawed and imperfect and sometimes cut short, but attempted. At the end of 30 days, you will not recognize the person who started them. Chapter 10. The person on the other side of discipline. I want you to close your eyes for a moment, or don't because you're reading this, but do it metaphorically. Picture the version of you that has been disciplined for 1 year, not perfect, not superhuman, just consistently, imperfectly disciplined for 12 months. What do they look like? How do they carry themselves? What decisions are easy for them that are hard for you right now? What do they have that you don't? Not in possessions, but in self-trust. In the quiet, unshakable knowledge that they are someone who follows through. That person is not a fantasy. That person is you, plus 365 daily decisions to choose growth over comfort. The gap between where you are and where that person stands is not talent. It is not luck. It is not circumstance. It is a series of small, unsexy, repeated choices that compound into someone unrecognizable. Here is what that person has that the undisciplined version does not. They trust themselves, completely. Not because nothing ever goes wrong, things go wrong for them too, but because they have a track record, built one kept promise at a time, of showing up for themselves regardless. And that self-trust is the most valuable asset a human being can possess because it transfers to every area of life. Relationships, work, health, creativity. Every kept promise to yourself is a deposit in that account. Every broken one is a withdrawal. The person you want to be is on the other side of consistent deposits. You don't need to make large ones. You need to make them without stopping. Start small. Stay consistent. Never stop. That is the entire formula. It has never changed. It will never change. Chapter 11. The Manifesto, Your New Rules. These are not aspirations. These are decisions. Read them out loud right now if you're alone. Read them again tomorrow morning. Pin them somewhere visible. Let them be the contract you sign with the version of yourself who is waiting on the other side of consistency. My Discipline Manifesto. I do not negotiate with the snooze button. I act before I feel ready because ready never arrives. I keep promises to myself the way I keep them to people I respect. I build systems so my worst days are still productive. I do not wait for motivation. I create it through action. I design my environment to make discipline the path of least resistance. I measure my progress against yesterday, not against anyone else. I accept that discomfort is the price of the life I actually want. I treat every kept promise as a deposit in the account of self-trust. I am not a person who lacks discipline. I am a person building it daily. Chapter 12. One decision. Right now. We are at the end of this speech, but I need you to understand something clearly. Nothing in these pages changes anything. Not a single word, not a single idea, not a single quote you highlighted or screenshot or sent to someone else. Words change nothing. Decisions change everything. So here is the only thing that matters in the next 60 seconds. What is the one undisciplined behavior that, if you addressed it starting today, would change the trajectory of your life most significantly? Not 5 things. 1. The one you already know. The one that surfaced in your mind 3 paragraphs ago and that you've been casually noting and planning to address seriously for longer than you want to admit. Name it. Write it down. Choose one action. Do it in the next hour. Not tomorrow. Not after this. Now. Because here is what the undisciplined life and the disciplined life have in common. They both start with a single decision made in an ordinary moment in an unremarkable place with no audience watching. The difference is what that decision is. One person decides, not today, it's fine, tomorrow. The other person decides, enough, starting now. The war inside you has only ever had one winner. Make sure it's you. Go. The version of you that showed up every day when they didn't feel like it, who built the habit, kept the promise, ran the system, stayed when it was hard, that version is not a fantasy. They are a decision away. They have always been a decision away.